Welcome back, to my YouTube channel, coin enthusiasts and treasure seekers, to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable values that can turn something as small as a single cent into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece of numismatic history. And today we're going to explore one of the most incredible stories ever to emerge from the world of coin collecting, the 1981 cent coin that shocked collectors, historians, and investors alike. When it was revealed that a particular specimen of this simple copper-plated piece of U.S. change was valued at an astonishing $7 million, yes, $7 million for a penny that might still be lying forgotten in someone's old coin jar, hiding in plain sight, quietly holding secrets of minting mistakes and rare errors that make it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. And as we go deeper into this remarkable story, you'll learn why this coin's minting year, its unique composition, and the rare combination of mechanical and human mistakes make it such a precious and sought-after piece of American coinage history, a true miracle of error that collectors dream of finding in their pocket change. The 1981 cent coin came at an interesting time in U.S. minting history, when the mint was transitioning through various technological updates and equipment calibrations, still using the bronze alloy that had defined Lincoln cents for decades before the major metal composition change that came in 1982. And it was during this pre-change period that some incredible mistakes occurred, resulting in a few specimens being struck with unusual die varieties, misaligned strikes, double dies, off-center impressions, and even rare planchet composition anomalies that together could elevate a humble 1-cent piece into the realm of multimillion-dollar collectibles, because when a coin combines rarity, error, and perfect preservation, the numismatic world takes notice, and when experts discovered a 1980 penny with multiple significant errors existing together on one coin, it became clear this wasn't just a common minting oversight, it was a once-in-a-century mistake. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that shows doubling so visible on the date and inscriptions that every letter and number seems to have a shadow twin, where the 1980 date appears slightly shifted and mirrored, giving away the signs of a powerful double die error created when the die itself was improperly hubbed not once but twice at slightly different angles. A mechanical accident that produces a rare and dramatic visual doubling that collectors can recognize instantly. Now add to that a possible misalignment of the die resulting in an off-center strike, perhaps just enough to expose a wide blank crescent of metal along the rim, and suddenly you have a coin whose appearance screams rarity from every detail, each mistake compounding the other, and together they produce something no mint could ever intentionally replicate. The story doesn't end there. Some of these 1981 cent coins were discovered to have been struck on transitional or foreign planchets, meaning the blank metal discs meant for other denominations or even other countries accidentally found their way into the Lincoln cent presses, and this kind of minting anomaly is among the rarest forms of error imaginable, because it requires a chain of unnoticed mistakes at multiple stages of production. First, the wrong planchets being present in the minting chamber, second, those blanks escaping normal quality control inspections, and third, those coins actually making it out into circulation undetected for decades, and it's precisely this combination of mechanical precision gone wrong and human oversight that makes the 1980 error penny worth millions. The $7 million valuation came about not merely because of its rarity but also because of its pristine condition, the fact that the error was so dramatic and unique, and the increasing frenzy among collectors seeking one-of-a-kind minting disasters. In numismatic circles, such coins are compared to lightning strikes, beautiful accidents of history that can never be recreated, each one telling a story of the mint's human fallibility during a time before computers monitored every stage of production, when a small misalignment or misfeed could create a miracle for collectors decades later. Experts have studied the known examples of these 1980 cents and found microscopic variations that tell an incredible tale. Some show minor die cracks running across Lincoln's bust or the lettering, "In God We Trust," evidence that the die used to strike them had suffered fatigue or stress fractures, while others show broad strikes that flattened the rim or removed the collar entirely, leading to a wider than usual flan that gives the coin a bold and strange appearance, unlike anything one would find in normal pocket change. And when such an array of dramatic features appears together, double die, off-center, die crack, broad strike, the result is a numismatic masterpiece valued beyond imagination. The 1980 mint year was also significant because it came at the end of the pure bronze era, right before the penny's composition shifted to a cheaper copper-plated zinc core, so any errors from this transitional window tend to be even more prized by collectors who see them as the final chapter of an era when coins were heavier, richer in metal, and still minted with older machinery that was more prone to small but monumental mistakes, and this adds a layer of historical nostalgia that amplifies the value even further. Imagine discovering one of these coins today, maybe while sorting through old jars of coins or boxes of loose change inherited from a parent or grandparent. Most people wouldn't even notice the subtle doubling or slight off-centering unless they looked carefully under a magnifier, but those who know what to look for could be holding millions without realizing it. And that's part of what makes stories like the 1981 cent error so thrilling. It's a treasure hunt accessible to everyone, where knowledge and observation can turn a penny into a fortune. The valuation of $7 million was reportedly reached at a private auction among elite collectors, where two numismatic investors fiercely competed for ownership, each recognizing that this particular coin was not just rare but perhaps unique in its combination of features, and in the world of collectibles, uniqueness drives price more than any other factor. Even a slight variation, a small difference in strike pressure, or the direction of a doubling can make one specimen exponentially more valuable than another. And that's precisely what happened with this 1980 error cent. It wasn't just another double die, it was the double die with the most dramatic offset, the most perfect condition, and the cleanest surfaces, as if preserved by fate itself. The coin's surface exhibited brilliant luster, nearly untouched by circulation, suggesting it may have been pulled aside immediately after striking, either by a mint worker who noticed its oddities or by sheer chance, spared the wear that would have diminished its perfection, and it's that immaculate state, combined with the minting errors, that elevated it to such dizzying value. After all, a heavily worn coin with the same error might only bring a few $1,000s, but a mint state specimen with sharp details and undeniable rarity can soar into the millions, as this one did. Another fascinating aspect of the 1981 cent is the psychological and cultural significance it carries. Coins like this remind us that perfection isn't always what we value most. Sometimes, it's the mistakes, the deviations from the expected, that capture our imagination, turning a manufacturing flaw into a symbol of rarity and beauty, and in that sense, this $7 million penny represents both human imperfection and human fascination, two sides of the same coin, literally and metaphorically. Coin experts often emphasize how error coins like this serve as tangible time capsules of minting history, capturing the exact moment something went wrong in the production line, a misfeed, a mistimed press, or a die misalignment frozen forever in metal, and studying these errors helps historians understand not just the mechanical processes but the human side of minting, the workers, the supervisors, the limitations of technology in 1980, all of which contribute to the allure of such a discovery. Moreover, the 1980 Lincoln cent design itself adds to its mystique, with the beloved portrait of Abraham Lincoln by Victor David Brenner on the obverse and the stately Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in use since 1959 and was nearing the end of its era. Any major error from this design's later years feels like a farewell artifact of an age now gone, which is part of why collectors cherish them so dearly. When word spread about the $7 million penny, it ignited a new wave of interest among casual collectors and treasure hunters alike, with people across the world checking their change for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual colorations that might hint at composition errors. And that's the beauty of this story. It brings people together through curiosity, through the thrill of possibility. Next, 1984 1-cent coin. My channel, we explore the unbelievable stories behind rare and valuable coins that have changed people's lives overnight, the coins that might look like ordinary pennies but are actually worth millions because of the incredible minting errors and rare mistakes that make them one of a kind, and today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating examples of this phenomenon, the 1984 1-cent coin, a coin that has shocked collectors and experts around the world. Because some rare versions of this penny have sold for as much as $5 million due to their errors, mistakes, and extremely limited existence, and the more you learn about how such a small copper-colored coin could reach such an enormous value, the more amazed you'll be at how tiny imperfections can lead to such gigantic rewards. The story of the 1984 1-cent coin is not just about a piece of metal, it's about the combination of history, craftsmanship, human error, and collector passion that turns an everyday object into a treasure worth millions. because even though billions of pennies were minted that year, only a handful have the extraordinary features that make them incredibly valuable today. To truly understand why the 1984 penny can be worth up to $5 million, you need to know what was happening at the U.S. Mint during that time. The early 1980s were years of change for the Lincoln cent. The mint had switched from the traditional 95% copper composition used for decades to the new copper-plated zinc planchet in 1982 due to the rising cost of copper, and this change caused a wide variety of unexpected minting problems, including plating errors, lamination defects, and striking issues, which continued into 1984. These problems, combined with the use of older dies, worn equipment, and human oversight, led to some fascinating errors that escaped quality control, eventually becoming legendary among collectors. The most famous of all the 1984 penny varieties is the 1984 double die obverse, often referred to as the 1984 DDO Lincoln cent, which shows a dramatic doubling on Lincoln's ear, a feature so distinct and visible that even people without magnification can spot it easily, and this error alone has made the coin one of the most sought-after varieties in modern U.S. coinage. Imagine looking closely at the side of Lincoln's face and seeing what appears to be an extra earlobe, perfectly struck but clearly doubled. That's the defining mark of this rare and valuable error. What happened is that during the die-making process, the hub that imprints the coin's design onto the die struck it twice in slightly different positions, creating this doubling effect that was then transferred to every coin the die produced. This kind of error shouldn't have happened because by 1984, the mint had refined its die creation process, but somehow, one or more dies were improperly aligned, producing a small batch of coins with this distinctive doubled ear. These pennies were mixed with millions of ordinary ones and released into circulation before anyone noticed the mistake, which is why they are so rare today. Over time, collectors began discovering them in change, coin rolls, and old jars, and as word spread, demand skyrocketed, leading to auction prices reaching into the millions for perfect examples in pristine condition. Now, while the double die is the most famous, it's not the only type of 1984 penny error that can make the coin valuable. There are also 1984 pennies with off-center strikes, where the design is shifted away from the center because the planchet wasn't properly aligned in the press, creating coins where part of Lincoln's face or the inscriptions are missing. These errors can vary in value depending on how extreme they are, but in some cases, if the coin is about 50% off-center and still shows a full date, it can fetch thousands of dollars. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread wider and flatter than normal. These pieces have a distinct appearance and are instantly recognizable. Some 1984 pennies were even struck on wrong planchets, for instance, on dime planchets made of a copper-nickel blend, which makes them both lighter and silver in color, a type of mint error that collectors pay huge premiums for because they are so rare and visually striking. Another type of valuable mistake is the die crack or die break, which happens when the metal die used to strike coins develops small fractures from wear and stress, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the finished coins. Collectors often call large die breaks cuts, and they can add significant value depending on how prominent they are and where they appear. Some 1984 pennies also show lamination errors, where part of the thin copper plating peeled or bubbled due to bonding problems during minting. These flaws are not only visually interesting but also a direct result of the mint's struggles with the relatively new copper-plated zinc composition introduced just 2 years earlier. There are also known repunched mint mark errors on 1984 D cents, where the D mint mark from the Denver Mint was punched more than once in slightly different positions, leaving traces of multiple impressions, a kind of small but desirable detail that die variety collectors love to hunt for. The fascinating thing about the 1984 penny is that it represents a transitional era in U.S. coinage, where old and new technologies overlapped, and this overlap often led to inconsistencies that produced rare varieties. Even the tiniest differences in die preparation could result in unique coins that today command astronomical prices. For instance, a 1984 penny with the double die ear error in perfect mint state condition, graded MS-67 by a professional service, once sold for hundreds of thousands, and some pristine examples in proof-like condition are rumored to have reached offers as high as $5 million in private sales among elite collectors who value them for their rarity, beauty, and historical significance. Another reason the 1984 penny has become so legendary is because it appeals to both modern-era collectors and traditional Lincoln cent enthusiasts alike. The Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, has always been one of the most collected coin series in America, and within it, certain key dates and era varieties stand out as holy grails, like the 1955 double die, the 1969 S double die, and the 1983 copper transitional errors. The 1984 penny earns its place among these legends because it combines the charm of a modern era with the unmistakable thrill of a dramatic, visible era. People are drawn to it because it's something you can actually find in circulation if you're lucky, $1 million coin that could still be hiding in someone's old penny jar, forgotten for decades until rediscovered. The possibility that such a treasure could exist in ordinary change makes the hunt even more exciting, and that's why the 1984 1 cent has become a symbol of hope and curiosity in the coin collecting world. Every time someone finds a strange-looking penny from 1984, they rush to examine it, hoping it might be the famous doubled ear or another rare variety, and sometimes those hopes come true. Beyond the well-known double die and off-center strikes, the 1984 penny also has lesser-known but fascinating variations like die clashes, where the dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint outlines of the design from the opposite side impressed on the coin, and these ghost-like marks can make a coin stand out to collectors. There are also examples with weak strikes, caused when the press didn't apply enough pressure, leading to faint or missing details, and while these are less dramatic than doubling or missing mint marks, they can still be valuable, especially in combination with other errors. Collectors value these coins not only for their rarity but for the story they tell. Each error is like a fingerprint of a specific moment in the minting process, a glimpse into how even with advanced machinery, the human element can still lead to fascinating imperfections. The 1984 penny's high value also comes from the way collectors grade and preserve them. Condition plays a crucial role. A heavily circulated coin might only be worth a few dollars even with a minor error, but a flawless example with a dramatic mistake can reach millions. That's why professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC are so important in the coin world. Their certification adds legitimacy and ensures authenticity, which boosts market value dramatically. The $5 million valuation for the rarest 1984 1 cent isn't just a number pulled from thin air, it represents the combination of extreme rarity, condition perfection, collector demand, and historical context that define the top end of the coin market. When only a handful of known examples exist and collectors are willing to pay anything to own one, prices can soar beyond imagination. It's the same reason why a 1943 copper penny or a 1955 double die can command huge sums, because these coins capture the imagination, blending rarity with the romance of human error. What's truly amazing is that despite being nearly 40 years old, new discoveries of 1984 penny varieties still happen today. Last 1994 1 cent coin, my channel we uncover the incredible stories behind some of the rarest and most valuable coins in the world, the kinds of coins that turn ordinary pocket change into million-dollar treasures, and today we're diving into one of the most fascinating tales in modern numismatics, the unbelievable story of the 1994 1 cent coin, a penny that, under the right circumstances, can be worth up to $3 million because of the rare and remarkable minting errors and mistakes that set it apart from billions of others struck that same year. And as we explore every detail of this astonishing coin, you'll see how something so small and ordinary can become a symbol of luck, history, and unimaginable value, capturing the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters around the world. The 1994 1 cent, part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial Cent series, might seem like just another penny at first glance, but beneath its copper-plated zinc surface lies a combination of minting anomalies and historical context that makes certain examples incredibly valuable. And the fascinating part of this story is that while millions of people handled these coins every day without noticing anything unusual, only a few sharp-eyed individuals realized that some 1994 pennies had extraordinary differences, errors so significant that they transformed an everyday coin into a multi-million-dollar collectible. To understand what makes the 1994 penny so special, we have to go back to the production process at the U.S. Mint during that time. The year 1994 was part of an era when the Mint was producing billions of coins annually to keep up with circulation demand, striking pennies at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, and each coin was supposed to meet exact specifications: 19.05 millimeters in diameter, 2.5 grams in weight, and made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. But in a process so large and mechanical, perfection is impossible, and that's where the story begins, because even with all the technological advancements and quality control systems, mistakes happen, and when they do, they can create coins of incredible rarity. One of the most famous and valuable varieties from 1994 is the so-called double die obverse, a type of error that occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives its design twice from the master hub but in slightly misaligned positions, causing a noticeable doubling effect on the design details. For the 1994 penny, some examples display clear doubling on the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," or the date, 1994, itself, and that doubling makes these coins extremely desirable to collectors. When the doubling is strong and clear, the value skyrockets, especially if the coin is in uncirculated or mint state condition. There are even examples where the doubling affects Lincoln's profile, giving the portrait a ghostly outline that makes the coin instantly recognizable. Collectors are willing to pay thousands, sometimes millions, for the most dramatic and well-preserved examples, and it's not hard to see why. These coins are tangible pieces of minting history, unique products of a mechanical mistake that can never be replicated exactly the same way again. But doubling isn't the only kind of error that makes the 1994 penny so valuable. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly centered during minting, leading to a design that's shifted away from the middle, with part of the coin blank or incomplete. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date is still visible, since that allows collectors to identify the year. Some 1994 pennies were struck 50% off-center or more, creating eye-catching and extremely rare pieces that sell for thousands of dollars at auctions. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar that gives it a proper shape, resulting in a coin that's wider and flatter than usual, a mistake that's visually striking and highly collectible. Another fascinating type of error found on some 1994 pennies is the die crack or die break, which happens when the metal die used to strike coins develops cracks due to wear and stress, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coins. These are often called cuds by collectors, and depending on their size and position, they can dramatically increase a coin's value. Some 1994 pennies have die cracks running across Lincoln's face or the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, creating one-of-a-kind pieces that command premium prices. There are also cases of lamination errors, where the thin copper plating on the zinc core doesn't bond properly, leading to peeling, bubbling, or flaking, and because the U.S. Mint switched to copper-plated zinc in 1982, plating errors continued to appear sporadically in later years, including 1994. A penny with severe plating separation can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars because it vividly demonstrates the imperfection in the minting process. Perhaps even more fascinating are the examples of 1994 pennies struck on the wrong planchet. In rare cases, a blank intended for a dime, nickel, or foreign coin accidentally made its way into the penny press, resulting in a 1994 cent that's the wrong size, weight, or color. For instance, a 1994 penny struck on a dime planchet would be smaller, lighter, and have a silver color instead of copper, an extremely rare mistake that can make the coin worth tens or hundreds of thousands depending on condition and visibility of the date. In the world of coin collecting, such wrong planchet errors are among the most exciting discoveries because they highlight how a small slip in the mint's automated system can create a coin unlike any other. Another unique variation that adds to the 1994 penny's legend is the repunched mint mark, particularly on coins from the Denver Mint, where the D mint mark was manually punched into the die before automated systems fully took over. Occasionally, this process resulted in multiple impressions of the mint mark slightly offset from each other, producing what's known as a RPM, or repunched mint mark, and these are highly collectible among die variety enthusiasts. Some 1994 D cents show clear doubling or shifting of the D, making them stand out from normal issues and adding substantial value. What makes the 1994 penny story even more captivating is that it comes from a time when error coins were beginning to gain huge popularity among collectors. By the 1990s, coin shows, numismatic magazines, and growing online forums had started to spotlight dramatic minting mistakes, fueling demand and driving up prices for notable errors. The 1994 penny quickly caught collectors' attention for the sheer number of fascinating anomalies it produced, from subtle die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a coin between them, leaving ghost-like outlines on the next coin, to extreme misstrikes where two coins were fed into the press simultaneously, resulting in one coin struck over another, a double strike error that can make a coin worth many times its face value. Each of these mistakes tells its own story, and together they make the 1994 penny one of the most interesting modern coins ever minted. But why would a single 1994 penny be worth $3 million? The answer lies in the perfect combination of rarity, condition, and error severity. Imagine a coin that not only shows a dramatic double die but also has an off-center strike or was struck on the wrong planchet, all while remaining in pristine uncirculated condition. Such a coin would be virtually unique, a once-in-a-lifetime find, and in the world of numismatics, uniqueness translates directly into value. When only one or two examples of a particular error exist, collectors and investors will compete fiercely to own it, often driving prices into the millions. The record-breaking prices for rare pennies in recent years, like the 1943 copper cent and the 1958 double die, have shown that serious collectors are willing to pay enormous sums for coins that combine rarity, story, and visual impact, and the 1994 penny is no exception. It represents a perfect storm of modern minting imperfection and collector enthusiasm, making it one of the standout coins of its generation. Another factor that contributes to its value is its connection to the long history of the Lincoln cent, which began in 1909 and remains one of the most iconic coin designs in U.S. history. Every collector dreams of owning a piece of that history, especially one that's both beautiful and flawed in a unique way. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, used from 1959 through 2008, adds to the coin's charm, with its intricate design that often reveals even more fascinating details when errors occur. For instance, a die break across the memorial can create the illusion of a damaged building, something collectors love to nickname and categorize. Some 1994 pennies also show die deterioration doubling, where worn dies cause a blurry or stretched appearance on the letters and numbers, and although this is technically not a true double die, it's still of great interest to variety hunters. The fact that so many different types of mint errors and varieties can exist on the same year's penny makes the 1994 issue particularly special. It's like a treasure chest of possibilities for collectors, each coin a mystery waiting to be uncovered. Another fascinating angle is the scientific and historical side of error coins.